What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from ActionMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic. And this is Trigger Warning. So I guess you've been warned. The title has done that for you universally. You don't even know what the trigger warning is, but you've been warned for all future potential trigger warnings that could happen while this movie is occurring. Like maybe it not being so good. Anyway, this movie stars Jessica Alba, and that's really all you need to know. Uh, it's um, it's kind of disappointing because there's some other talent here. It was nice to see Anthony Michael Hall sort of be like, "Hey guys, I'm alive. Check me out. Still do movies." He's in kind of a weird role, but uh, it is Jessica Alba vehicle for Netflix, just like Atlas's J-Lo vehicle and so on and so forth. It's directed by someone who I guess has had more success in international features. And then I don't know, they didn't know what they were signing on to here. And I don't know if they read the script. I don't know, maybe if they don't know English very well. They were just like, oh, Netflix is giving me lots of money to do this film. Who is this Jessica Alba? Let's find out. Or not. Um, this is not a great film. We start off, Jessica Alba plays Parker. It's her last name. But that's what we call her anyway. She's Parker. She is like a military operative at the beginning of the film. She's, I don't know, fighting some people somewhere. I've heard the green screen on this is not great. They didn't want to actually film somewhere for one scene since the rest of the movie takes place in New Mexico. So they had to, I guess, green screen in the background. Um, so after that scene, she gets a call from an old friend uh, who tells her that her dad died in a cave collapse. So she's like, oh my God. So she tells her partner, played by Tone Bell, that she's got to go back and deal with that. Her friend back home, that was also her prom date. She makes that random reference so that we know that at one point they were romantically entangled. It's played by Mark Webber, most famously known for not being good enough to be in Stumptown, which lasted for one season. It's actually kind of a really underrated actor who's pretty good and did not deserve to be in this film, but probably was also just really excited to be this high on the call sheet. He's arguably the number two in this film. So he lets her know, and it's, she's like, well, caves collapse. That's what they do. And he's like, I don't know. I'm not so sure. He left this behind. And given how the film resolves and the things that he knows, it really just kind of makes me wonder, like, why he didn't just accept her cave collapse, because then the movie would be over. We'd have like a 10-minute short, like a 10-minute short film. Signed, signed, sealed, delivered. Jessica Alba goes back to work. Possibly a better film, because then we get to see her maybe fight in the military, and they wouldn't green screen it, and she'd be like, "Well, I had to go home for my dad's funeral, and I'm back." But no, it's because the detective is the one, the officer, police officer, whatever, for this. I don't know, like middle of nowhere. He must be like a regional police officer, because there isn't really a town. It's just kind of like desolation. It has the name of the town has something like cheeky as its name. It's like Creation, New Mexico, or something. I can't remember. It was something stupid. Immediately when I heard the name of the town, I was like, God damn it. Anyway, um, so they start to investigate what happened, and her dad owned a bar, ran a bar, a really crappy bar, because like who else in this area? It's This is not like a fancy area. Uh, so she's and Jessica Alba drinks a lot in this film, and you know, there isn't much for her to do. She's not really an action star, but they put her in the role of being an action star. Or and this isn't even like a high octane action movie either. This is, I would call this like an action mystery, which is like a weird genre that you never hear. Where most of the time she's just like asking questions and trying to get resolutions. Um, but there's this family. There's this Mark Webber's brother. I don't know, some actor playing a character named Elvis. Um, is doing some stuff, and Jessica Alba notices, and I guess there's a military supply depot nearby. But meanwhile, Elvis has like rocket launchers, and she's like, "Well, how did he get that?" Turns out there's like running guns, and their father, Elvis and Mark Webber's father, is played by Anthony Michael Hall, who's this extremely conservative senator who goes off on rants about how he's not racist and is part like Native American without saying like what. It's so weird. Like this film gets so weird and so like, what are we trying to say here politically? It's just a mess. Like I don't even know what this film wanted to do, or who it wanted to make fun of, or where it wanted to target, because none of it's written well. It's all this script has been lingering in development, I understand, since 2016. So not a long time. I mean, not a little amount of time, a long time. You know, this film has been sitting in development hell since 2016. For good reason too. Until Netflix was like, you know what, we need a vehicle for Jessica Alba. Let's buy up this script. It's got some good writers, which is really even, it makes it even worse. One of the writers is credited as one of the credited writers for the game, and another one is a credited writer for A History of Violence. This is very disappointing. Like, what is happening in this film? Like, what's going on with this team, and how did it get this bad? Um, I've talked a lot in the past about these Netflix films and how they just kind of get vomited out and nobody really ever gives them feedback. And I think Netflix just throws money at somebody and says, make me a movie. We're going to put it on Friday. We've given you a star, Jessica Alba, and go. And somebody just has to make that movie happen. And sadly, I don't think they ever get any feedback. I don't think they get test screenings. I don't think, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think this script really gets like another stage. Nobody really ever does anything. I'm not even sure Jessica Alba read the script. She's probably just so happy to be starring in a film that she was just like, yeah. Because let's be honest, what else is she doing other than selling us lotion? Like Alba Botanicals. She's not really doing anything else right now. She has nothing else to do or say. This film is so bizarre. There's like this scene where it's like in the middle of the rain. First of all, it's raining in the desert, but second of all, it's there's this scene and she's like going in and she thinks that somebody's broken in, but it's this like little kid who's like, I really wanted to feed the lizard that hasn't been a major focus of anything in the film, you know, and he's like feeding this lizard in the middle of a storm, in the middle of the night. Why? Like, why? It doesn't make any sense. None of this makes any sense. Um, it's so disappointing. This film is endlessly disappointing. It serves no purpose. There's nothing here to like. I can't. With Netflix films, I'm usually like, well, if you base what Netflix has usually tapped into is basing a film around a star that everybody likes, and then that star's charisma comes through. I would argue that about Atlas. I think Jennifer Lopez was good in Atlas, being Jennifer Lopez, giving us the Lopez vibe for that film. And there are several films where I can see that, where I'm like, okay, well, the lead actor's kind of doing their thing, kind of making this interesting. So it's not like the worst thing in the world. But here, Jessica Alba doesn't bring that. She doesn't have that charisma. She's really never had that charisma. Um, she's always been. She's never really been an A-lister. She's always just kind of been like right below that for kind of a good reason. She would probably be okay maybe on a TV show if Netflix wanted to try to do like, I don't know, some sort of a series with her on it. But when she's asked to anchor a movie with Mark Webber and Anthony Michael Hall, it's just nothing comes together here. Worse yet is I'm not even a fan of the audio description. And this is tough for me because I'm a big fan of International Digital Center. I love that team. I think they're one of the best audio description teams here. I don't know if they were rushed to produce a product, but aside from the narrator part, I actually heard the patching. I actually heard them patching in the re-recordings when he went back in and re-recorded something or added additional audio description dialogue to the script, from the script or whatever it is. However they did that, whatever decision that they made, either he read the whole thing twice and they liked the way he did it the second time, so they piecemealed it together from two different recordings. I don't know, but I could hear it, and I shouldn't be able to. That should not be the thing I'm focusing on, is being able to hear that. Those little transitions where you're like, okay, well, that sounds like a different take entirely than the takes around it. Feels like we just, surgically put that in there. Words are tough right now. Surgically put that in there. As far as the narrator goes, I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to invoke it. He's new, and nobody's going to look it up. So if you're here and you happen to be the narrator and you're watching the review of Trigger Warning because you've heard of a blind film critic and I talk about audio description, I want to be nice because I want to support new talent in audio description. You have to do more. You have to do more inflection in your voice. You just have to. Your track is way too flat. It's way too flat. It probably the most egregious, if I had to tell you to like listen to it and watch it, is right at the beginning when you have to do also the subtitles, the voices, the characters that are, I don't know, Russian or whatever country they're from. At the beginning, the opening scene, bad guys. It's almost like there's no transition between the audio description and what he's reading. Like there's no inflection or tone at all. And it becomes kind of hard to really follow through those sequences, especially since I think there's like at least two bad guys. So then you're like reading for two people and you're reading the audio description, and it just is like, listen, dude, we are trying really hard to fight the AI/TTS revolution that they're trying to make happen. They're like, oh, well, with everything that we've done with AI, we don't need human narrators anymore. And if this new human narrator is going to bring in what is essentially adjacent to AI TTS audio description, you're not helping. You're not helping the case, the cause, the fight to continue to hold and get companies to hire human narrators. Part of the argument is the human narrators are able to interpret, they understand the tone, they understand the performance that they're supposed to give. You can actually hear differences in voices. When I sat through Tokyo Vice, the Max series this season, it's one narrator and he's having to do all the audio description and all of the voices for all of the translated Japanese characters. Now he has to do that, but he also brings sort of like a vocal performance to it. And it's weird to hear a dude trying to do a voice for a female, but that is the task he's been given. And by God, he's going to try to do that. He's going to try to find a pitch in his voice that is different so that way you know that he's speaking for a female character. It's just, there are other people that are working 10 times harder, and you have to you have to hit the ground running in this industry. You can't hit the ground with your first narration track on a Jessica Alba film that no one's going to watch or remember. And then the audio description track also was not great. It also doesn't help the fact that it really wasn't mixed well for the first time, which is something that is very unusual of International Digital Center. Um, I so like the whole thing just not great. I think the written script by Dakota Green, fine. Like I was able to follow the film, I understood what was going on, but it just everything else just didn't really work for me. Um, and it's not like it's the whole thing is not. It's not like some Frankenstein thing where like every 5 seconds it's patched in either. It's just there are a couple times and it's just annoying because I'm like, why? And I feel like there's got to be a better way of doing it too, where you re-record like a longer part of it so that that way it's not so obvious. Because when you put in just like a little chunk, it becomes really obvious. But if you do it maybe in like a longer section, perhaps it's less obvious. And maybe that's on the quality check dude. Maybe the quality check dude needs to have higher standards for, I don't know, like I know it also gets quality checked. So QC guy, say something, man. If you can hear the difference in the track, say something, you know. But even if this had a great audio description track, it's not gonna save the movie. The movie is still just kind of a waste of time, hot garbage. It's not like the worst thing I've seen this year, but it kind of floats around like, why? Kind of reminded me last year of when Chris Evans and Ana de Armas did Ghosted, and I was like, well, there's potential here. Except for with this, I didn't have much expectation of a Jessica Alba film. With Evans and De Armas, I actually did have some expectation that that film would be entertaining. So, yeah, we're we're not getting the cream of the crop with streaming releases. Although every once in a while we get something. I really enjoyed Damsel this year. So it's like 1 out of every 20 Netflix originals ends up being good. Uh, this is not. I'm gonna give Trigger Warning a D plus. It's not great. Kill it with fire. Anyway, at least I can say you've been warned through the title. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.